all the rest of you here for the moratorium? Gonna have one speaker amongst you? Are we gonna hear the same thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times? Just correct me if I'm wrong, but there's motions and seconds.
No, after the state's attorney advised the committee not to be, they're not a voting committee. They're strictly a recommendation committee. So what the process will be is all the discussions that are taking place every week or every meeting, let's put it that way. At the end, then we're going to be reviewing all of the suggestions, all the concerns that have been raised by you or anybody else on the committee, whether they're talking or not. I don't know if anybody.
The purpose of what the request was to take these 10 conditions. I believe Chris is gone now. I think 10 conditions, Chris.
Pardon me?
How many conditions in that ordinance? A
Yeah,
list of X amount of conditions. And that is what dictates where they go, why they go there, how far from here, how far from there. And that's what you're doing, is you're going over those conditions. That was the purpose of setting up the committee. I don't believe it was to review the entire ordinance, it was to cover the conditions.
it's to review everything. We should review the ordinance while we're at it.
I guess, even though we bring forth people on a county level that have talked about this or talked about this with their superiors, like a Wendy, like a Tim Trader. I mean, Tim Trader carried one idea of a hazardous waste issue all the way up to the director of the state EPA, and yet that does not appear to be good enough, as a topic of conversation, and that's what disappoints me. I mean, I wasn't at that meeting, but it's my opinion, he went to his regional director, and he happened to be at a meeting with the state head of the EPA.
I am requesting that the Properties Committee make a motion to extend the moratorium for another 6 months and then bring that to the full county board for a vote at next week's meeting.
Well, it was not acted on at the last county board meeting. I don't know if this committee wants to act on it right now or not. I'm not ready to extend the moratorium.
I'm not either. Me neither.
Why not?
Simply
The
because...
job's not done.
Right, but the meetings will go on. It's just, we're not going to extend the moratorium.
But the whole purpose of the moratorium was to conduct this review.
But then it will go on. It won't go on without the moratorium.
So what happens when a winter
Oval
comes
County is
in?
going to do away with their moratorium too.
They extended their moratorium for 6
Yeah.
months, didn't
Right, but they're not going to extend it again, from what I understand. Well, we're not going to, I would not vote to extend it.
We've heard these arguments
Over and over.
over and over the same question. My question, and I told you that the other day when I talked to you. If I own 160 acres out here, who's paying my taxes? Are you going to pay my taxes? I might want a windmill to pay my taxes, $5,000. You people aren't farming. If you are, you have this decision to say no. If I'm farming, I can say yes, I need $5,000 and I want to put a windmill on there. And you people now are going to say no, we're going to have a moratorium and you can't put one.
The wind turbine's impact goes well beyond the turbine host's property line.
We could argue that forever.
By your argument, you're saying that the guy who wants a wind turbine
Right.
has the right to put it up.
That's right.
Without any regards for his neighbors' rights.
That's right. If it's legal, what about my neighbors out there that raise cattle or hogs? Are you going to stop the smell? No, you're not, because you're not interested in that. You're interested in nothing but windmills.
Well, if that were the case, then why do you have zoning ordinances at all? Because that's what zoning ordinances do. If that farmer wanted to put up a tire factory, could he do that? No, why not? Because it's not allowed by the ordinance.
No, we zone it. You could zone it anytime. Business. Put an industrial park.
But theoretically, you are supposed to be protecting the property rights of the people in this county as a whole, not individuals. You're not supposed to be protecting the property rights of the petitioner who's standing before you. What you're supposed to be doing is protecting the property rights of every person in this county by approving what that petitioner wants you to do. You should be ensuring that you're protecting the rights of everybody in that county. That's what zoning ordinances do.
And that's why we have zoning ordinances.
Exactly.
The disagreement, though, is we believe that zoning ordinances that we have in place are protecting those rights, and you don't. That's the disagreement. We don't have a disagreement over the idea of zoning rights. We have the disagreement over whether or not those zoning rights are right now accomplishing their mission.
So you feel that the zoning rights are accomplishing,
I believe they allow us to accomplish it.
you haven't demonstrated, you just implied that you've controlled it so to not create that situation. I don't think you've had that opportunity presented, and I don't think that you've demonstrated that you would place
We have to
controls on
place
there.
some type of faith in the people that are there to protect you.
And then ultimately, the county board votes on whatever recommendation comes out of that committee.
Well, I guess I don't see a downside to extending the moratorium that you're talking about.
Is there, so you get another moratorium, is that the last time you ask for the moratorium?
If you get the job done,
Yeah. That's,
well,
How are you gonna get the job done? He's sitting over there saying that you're not getting the job done, so why would you extend the moratorium?
yeah, and there, you know what, there's a bunch of information about that you don't know. And I can give it to you, and I'll take 2 minutes to give it to you. All right? 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
This, all right, and I'm not bashing Wendy, I'm not criticizing her at all, because she was very clear to say during that meeting that she did a quick and dirty analysis. She pulled sales, and she looked at median sales prices, okay, right? I mean, she said it was, you know, this is just a quick and dirty analysis, I did it in less than an hour. There is another study out there that uses the same sales that Wendy used. It's from the same, virtually the same time period, from 1998 to 2007. And this is
are you talking about the Mendota Hills project?
it includes the Mendota Hills project, yes.
I want you to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, it includes the Mendota Hills project, and it includes like 20 wind farms in 9 different states. And Mendota Hills and GSG are also included in this study. The data in this study is the same data that Wendy used. It's the same time period, the same sales, okay? And this study, I should point out, I guess there isn't anybody from this committee, but Chris, you have the manual, not the one I gave you, but the one given to you by the guy from the wind company.
Neil Palmer.
Neil Palmer. In that, he includes this Berkeley study, which is a larger version of Wendy's study. And it assesses all these properties. And guess what? It comes to the same conclusion, that there's no significant effect on property values. But there's a fundamental problem with this study. And I can give you the numbers in more detail, but this is basically it. For example, in Mendota Hills, in the Lee County studies, there was 412 sales. 91% of those sales did not have a view of the wind turbines. 91% did not have a view of the wind turbines.
You mean from the property itself?
From the property itself, did not have a view of the wind turbines. Now, Wendy didn't know that. She said she didn't do a specific analysis of these properties. And this is included in this study. And Chris, you can check it in your book. This is on page 96 to 98 of that Berkeley study that's in that binder. And this is the same. They did the same thing. The other thing is that 80%,
What did they say about the
99% of the sales were greater than a mile from the turbine. So we're not talking about our setback issue. We're talking about being a mile from the turbine. That's what this sales data says. It doesn't. So therefore, what does it tell you? It doesn't tell you anything about what's going to happen with property values. And I checked the numbers. Buena Vista County, Iowa, same thing. Door County, Wisconsin. 91% of the turbines had no view of the. 91% of the
That's not
homes
Lee
had no
County.
view of the turbines.
See, you keep bringing this up even in the board meeting. You're supposed to
I never
talk
brought
Lee
that up.
County. I don't care about DeKalb County or Ogle County.
I was talking about Lee County.
To start with, now you're up into Door County.
That's just to show you that it's not just an anomaly from Lee County. It's happening all over the place.
But on the average, 91% of the people, the sales went up, right? even though they had, I mean, they may not add a view, but at least in the area of the wind farm, only 9%, did they actually go down?
He doesn't
They
have
don't
the
say.
sales data. It's not included in the study.
Right.
He also doesn't say, you know, there was one sale between, two sales within a mile. He doesn't say what those sold for. But what I'm saying is you have all this data, it's bad data. And now you're drawing the conclusion from it. It's terrible data, it's meaningless data. And now the whole county thinks that, well, no problem. It's just not true.
Well, what makes that data good if they can't tell you what the cost went up or down for that 9%? They don't even talk about it. Does that mean they gave them away? Does that mean they were sold for $1 instead of $1 million? What is the reason for the 9%? What's the cost of the 9%? Did it go up or down? If they don't give you that information, then what in the world are you talking about it for?
Because
It has no bearing.
it does, right, it has no bearing, but
Then why
that's
are you
what,
bringing it up?
because that is what you're using as your conclusion to say that there's no effect on property values.
Hold on. Wendy's did not say she was a half a mile from it, 30 feet from it, she could see it, she couldn't see it. She says, a quick and dirty response, here's what we did, they didn't go down. That's it.
And if you've got a property that has no view of the turbines, what would you expect to happen?
She didn't bring that in there. This person did out of Berkeley, and they said 9%, but they won't tell you what happened to that 9%. Did that 9% go up, or did it go down? If you can't get an answer for it, it's a meaningless survey. Totally meaningless.
It is
So
a
don't-
meaningless survey.
Well, then why are you bringing it up and comparing it to Wendy's? Wendy's didn't bring that in there. She said, we sold...
I'm not gonna argue with you. You're not making any sense, I'm not gonna
Well,
argue
you're like
with you.
that guy over there. Everybody's against him, everybody's against you. You're both against each other.
If you guys wanna sit here and not look at the facts,
And
that's,
by the
I'm
way,
not
just one
gonna
last
sit
thing,
here.
just so you
Thank
know,
you.
they just discovered that eggs are now healthy for you. After 10 years
Yeah.
telling me they're no
Yeah,
good.
let's go on.
Let's go out, please.